Today we're talking about a 52-year-old second-generation family business. It's a florist business in Southern California.
Okay.
And so this is again from an episode of The Prophet, which is a show on CNBC.
I think that
wonderful
was
example.
Season
this is
one.
season 1, episode 2. So
right.
if you want to see the whole
want to play
hour, see all the details in the video.
Right.
That's where it came from.
It was quite an interesting one.
It's unusual because having watched almost every episode of over 100 episodes of The Prophet.
Right.
There's very few where the client bails. They back out of the deal. They're uncooperative, and it ends in basically a fight.
Yeah.
And this was one. And to have that be on episode 2 was kind of a bold move for the show producers.
Yeah, I would think so. Now, understand, editing has a lot to do with this. So,
but it was clear that this was not editing. And following it up, seeing posts on the internet, Twitter posts. We'll come back to that, but yes, there was a disagreement that had to get resolved, and it was real. Right. So set the stage. This show, the idea here is that Marcus Lemonis, who's an investor and a very experienced businessman, comes in to rescue these companies. They contact him and say, "We need help. We're in trouble," and that's his thing. If your business is in trouble, call this number or email it, whatever. So he's an angel investor in a way. He comes in and he makes an investment in the company. He takes. Almost always takes an equity position of up to over 50%, depending on the amount of investment that he's making. So he, is doing this. It's not a charity. He's doing it to make money, but he comes into. He's putting his own money where his mouth is.
Well, he supports family business. That's his whole thing. It's family business, backbone of America. We've talked about this and how we have to keep those growing. Yes. And by the way, I'm John Cooter. And I'm Connie Cooter.
And we are Cooter Consulting Group.
Yes.
And we support family businesses as well.
We do, because we're both long generations of family business.
Now, what we don't do is come in and invest.
No.
We are coaches.
No.
We help the family business by helping people change the way, make small shifts in the way they think and the way they operate in their processes, and just small behavioral changes.
We just help you be more efficient.
Results, way more.
Right.
Because it's leverage. When you can pull the right lever and get a 10x result from the effort, that's something worth pulling.
We like that.
Okay, so this florist, so Marcus shows up and starts looking around the business. He can't find, first of all, he can't find anybody in this giant store. There's so much inventory on shelves. There's just merchandise everywhere. I was shocked because it's a florist and I couldn't see any flowers. That was his point.
Yeah.
And he had to go all the way to the back of the store, and then he found some people making flowers. The owner was nowhere to be found.
Right.
They had to hunt to find him. And
even though he knew he was coming.
He was coming.
I thought that was interesting.
And the situation, the general situation was, even though this guy had called for help, he didn't seem to want help.
Yeah.
He didn't seem to be interested in change. He had inherited the business from his father. His father started it so many years ago, and his father had passed away about 3 years before this was filmed. So that was 2010 that he passed away. Filmed in 2013.
Right.
And in those 3 years, the business had lost money every year.
Yeah.
Under the son's management. So right away, we've got the idea that the transition plan for the business wasn't a very solid plan, if there was one at all.
Right, the succession plan.
The succession plan, yeah.
Okay.
It leads me to believe that the father, for whatever, he was very successful in the business. He was beloved by his employees. That came out in the video, in the interviews, and hearing the longtime employees talk about him, and how much change had happened since he passed.
Yeah.
How much they missed him, but. It led me to believe that he was going that he didn't really have a succession plan to turn it over to his son. He just died, and the son was left with it. And what do I do? Now the son was 100% owner,
right?
But it became quickly obvious also that he didn't make a move without consulting his mother,
right?
And his mother was his primary financier. So the business in the year prior to the call, or to the, sorry, somebody's got a call coming in. In the year prior to the filming, the business had revenues of $3.6 million. The details are going to be in the story, the printed story associated with this. But the $3.6 million, and yet they had lost $20,000. They had a net loss of $20,000. The year before that, they had a net loss of $40,000. So there was some improvement, but the mother had contributed a loan of $200,000 to the business.
Oh, that's what it was. That's where the $200,000.
And then he had also gone to the bank, and he got a line of credit, and he had maxed that out of $100,000. So he had $300,000 in debt, and he was losing money.
And making $3.6 a mil
on a revenue of $3.6 million. So Marcus came in and started looking around. Well,
so is that 10%? He was in debt 10%.
10% of his revenue was
in debt.
His debt was equal to about 10%.
Okay, all right.
So some other things that came clear. Okay, the vans, the delivery vans that they had to deliver the flowers had signage on the side of them.
Right.
Okay. They mentioned a store that had been closed for over 10 years, a second location. So they hadn't changed this, they hadn't updated the signage on the side of their vans in 10 years. Second of all, their phone number was not on the vans. Only their internet address. So there was no way somebody could see their van and call. And when Marcus pointed this out, the son was kind of sarcastic about it. He was kind of flippant and kind of sarcastic that, oh yeah, well we don't, we don't want people calling. And
cool.
Well, that might have something to do with your business losing $20,000.
Might.
Then Marcus rode along with the delivery driver.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That was truly comical.
It was.
I hate to spoil the video for the people who are going to watch it, but it is. This guy said, first he didn't have a GPS. Okay, that's the bottom line. He did not have a GPS in his van, so he was using paper maps to try to find the locations that he was looking for.
L.A. or was it?
No, it's Pasadena. Still a big city.
Yeah.
And he got lost twice.
Yeah.
And he blamed
changes all the time.
And then he blamed it on Marcus, because he was distracted by all the conversation.
That was pretty funny.
Oh, and the air conditioner in the van that's delivering fresh flowers, was broken. So they had the windows down, and it was Southern California, hot, and the flowers were wilting. And that had probably something to do with the many complaints that they were receiving about the quality of the flowers.
Upset if I spent that much money on fresh flowers, even at that point.
And so this is, these are process things, right? There's people, process, and product is what Marcus is about. And the product is clearly the flower. So he wanted to make changes for all of them. So he went in, he started meeting with the son. It became obvious right away that the son couldn't make the decision to go forward with the deal. So they set up another meeting, got the mother involved, and they did make a handshake deal that Marcus would invest $100,000. Now, what was really different about this one from most of the others, he didn't take an equity position.
Yeah, no, that was.
You remember what he wanted?
He wanted an equity position, didn't he?
Initially.
Yeah.
And the son said, no, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And so he said, okay, I want 25% of the profits.
Right.
And
they didn't specify for how long.
They didn't, but it probably ongoing.
Could be.
I mean, because he's wanting a return on his investment, not a return of his investment.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So they agreed on. He would put in $100,000 for 25% of the profits, and that's where they went forward. Well, okay, so then Marcus started spending money. He came in and he made changes. They cleaned up the store. They had $400,000 of inventory in their storage area in the back that was not organized, not Not well, it was merchandise, but there was no inventory management system, so they had no idea what they had.
Right.
And some of it had been there been purchased during the father's life, so it was several years old.
Right.
And so the first thing he did was put in an inventory. They reorganized. They put in an inventory management system, with a barcoding, so they'd know what they had. They got rid of a bunch of old stuff that wasn't. It was random. It was like one of those craft stores, like a Michael's or something, instead of a florist shop. And
and it didn't make any sense.
He cleared the pathway so when somebody walked in the door, they could see people putting floral arrangements together, which was awesome. He did a test on, so another part of the process is, have you raised your prices? What are your costs and what are your prices? Nobody knew what their costs were. The owner didn't know.
Which is really shocking. How do you know? You were in the business without knowing how much it cost.
He had no idea what his costs were. He had no idea what his most profitable items were. Then there was a general manager. Now, this was a longtime employee that had been promoted into the role of general manager. And Marcus talked to her. Oh. She was a lovely person that didn't have the skills.
And was not helped to get the skills to be where she was at. She was just kind of thrown into the deep end of the water and said, "Here, swim," and she went.
It was kind of like she was given the position to take over stuff that the owner didn't want to deal with.
Well, that's a good,
So there were broken lights, that burned out bulbs in overhead. There were cobwebs everywhere. There was cleaning that needed to be done, the maintenance.
Yeah.
She literally didn't know what an inventory management system was. He had to sort of explain it to her.
Well,
she couldn't read a financial statement.
If the owner didn't have that, oh my God.
Right.
So was this a recipe for disaster?
There was no, she did not have the support to do her job, and she was in a job she wasn't prepared for. Yeah. So the first thing Marcus did was demote her.
Yes.
Right? He part of his deal is, I'm in charge for a period of time. And so he demoted her to a position that she was capable of, and then coached her. And this is where the coaching part came in. This is of all the of the whole show.
Right.
The greatest example of effective coaching was in his interaction with this young lady.
Right.
She could have taken the demotion very personally, and she could have gotten angry. She could have left. She could have quit. She didn't. No. She took it in stride. She took it as, okay, I'm not
as a growth opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she took it to the level that you, as a coach, is wow.
Yeah, she accepted the feedback. Yeah. She took it as constructive and for her benefit, which it was. And she stepped up into the role that she had been given. And part of it was still interacting with employees. I remember when he first interviewed her as general manager, there were some employees that hadn't come to work yet. And he asked her, so what do you, that's just okay? And she said, yeah. And so wasn't clear that part of her job was, holding employees accountable to what they were supposed to be doing.
There again, the owner.
And the owner was not on it. So that's where she stepped up, and she did start actually leading. She became a leader.
Oh yeah, and it was quite amazing.
It was.
Her growth was just phenomenal. If you can watch her grow.
If you don't get anything out, if you watch that episode and you can get past the antics, I'll call it, of the owner, but yeah, she's a great example of the benefit of coaching and what effective coaching can do.
Right.
And that's a little part of what Marcus does. It's not his main thing.
No.
So let's see.
We don't want to give away too much more.
No.
Here.
Well, they re-signed. They put new signage on the vans. They put they put wraps on the vans. They got the phone number on there. He made and they did a grand, after they did a huge facelift. They did a grand reopening, increased the 1 day sales. They were up 30% over the average.
Right.
And the owner left that event early and went home. So it became, again, it was really obvious that he just wasn't on board, and he backed out of the deal at the end, and it was.
Well, watch the episode because there's a whole lot of nuances, of course, that we're not getting into, But it was fascinating to watch the owner's justifications on why he didn't want to change or what was going on. But you really got to watch him to see the face and walk through that walk. Don't you agree?
It's both entertaining and educational. It was
and disappointing,
but it was a really clear example of someone who was not interested nor willing to change, just looking for a rescue.
Yeah.
And enablement. His mother, I suspect his father had enabled him. His mother was definitely enabling him. He did, a little surprised at the end. He did step up a little bit, in accepting some authority, but in a highly ineffective manner. So,
but the good news is the company is still going. So here,
yes,
10 years later.
Almost 10 years later. So
the company is still viable.
It seems that, again, we can't know, but it seems that what he learned from the experience with Marcus, he was able to apply well enough to stay in business. Right. Either that or his mother has continued to write checks for the last 9 years.
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? But it's a really interesting episode to watch, and we will continue to do family business case studies based on this.
Yeah,
and so please do hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon to get notified of when we produce a new video, which we'll be doing approximately weekly. And we look forward to talking to you again.